Everyone. I'm here with Sarah Bella from our friend from Calgary who wanders. So you've been wandering all over the Western Canada the last year, haven't you? And kind of,
Yeah,
yes. How are you? Nice to see you.
I'm good, thanks. Nice to see you too.
Thank you. We,
Yeah.
this is like social. It really. So you're in Golden?
Yeah, so I'm currently in Golden. I just moved here about a month ago. I was in Saskatchewan all summer, which was just glorious, and then in Calgary a little bit for the fall and winter. So,
Yes. We
mhm.
saw, lots of your pictures at this, amazing lake. You
Uh-huh.
know, were you at the family cottage?
Yes, my family has a cabin on Katepwa Lake. It's an hour east of Regina, and it's
Yeah.
been in the family for like 53 years or something.
Wow. And
Mhm.
how was that?
Oh, it's like a slice of paradise, living right on the water and the prairies. I mean, I'm a Saskatchewan girl, so I love the wide open spaces and the beauty of the golden fields.
Nice.
Hmm.
Hey, did people come and visit you?
I had a few friends pass through, but it was pretty quiet. Yeah.
Huh? I look at this time this year, this last 9 months or more, as a kind of almost like a forced retreat for many of us, to and lots of quiet time after we've burned through all the Netflix we can handle, and
Mhm.
for me anyway, it's been um, an inward looking time,
Yeah.
self-discovery.
Yeah. Well,
Any of that
it's
happening for you?
totally. When after I first got to Saskatchewan, which is around May, actually, I decided to bake sourdough. I got on that train and I decided to grow my own garden. But I also decided to host yoga online twice a day as like a yoga retreat. And then I realized once I was already teaching, I was like, I'm right on a lake. This is a retreat, like for me at least. And my participants were online wherever they were. But it was like you just said, it's like a forced retreat. And then
Hmm.
I created my own programming to go at the retreat.
Nice. And how's that working? Are you still doing the online?
I am. So yeah, I did these first 2 weeks of yoga in May, and we did yoga twice a day, and I just posted on Facebook. I'm like, hey, does anyone want to join me? Like, because my body was really, really sore. I had chronic injuries from years of aerial work and dancing, and lockdown had me like doing less. Like I couldn't go out to anything, and I was in
Yeah.
the middle of nowhere, Saskatchewan. So then this group, a core group of 4 people joined me in May, and we all got on and we did yoga twice a day, and it was super healing. And they loved it so much, I loved it so much that I kept going every single morning. And I'm still going, actually. I've created a whole online yoga studio based off of what we started back in May.
Oh, wow. And
Hmm.
are you open to more people joining you?
Yes, I'm totally open for more people to join us. I still have a group of that like core group that started with me, but
Yes.
more people come in all the time and it's such a lovely practice. Yeah.
Nice. Um, so when you're doing that, have you learned kind of to talk them through adjustments? Like if you're helping people, because you can't really adjust them.
Yeah. Yeah, teaching online is so different than teaching in person. Like, there's pros and cons. Like, it's really nice that everyone can be in their own living room, their own space,
Yeah.
do what they want without feeling pressure. But yeah, when it comes to adjustments, I have to do way more verbal cues about, like, okay, make sure you can see this or do that or rotate this way. And sometimes I'll actually go up to the screen and be like, okay, I can see you, like, move this a little bit that way. But
Uh,
but a lot of the people decide to be private and have their videos off, which is totally okay. I just trust that they're like, following along and listening to best as best they can. So,
yes. Well, good for you.
mhm.
What else have you been doing?
Well, I mean that whole summer period, like you said, it was like an incubation and like retreat, and so I learned um, a lot about codependency actually and healing relationships, my relationships. Um, and I didn't realize how codependent I was until I learned about it. And then I started doing that healing work and creating boundaries and creating right relationships with my family, with my friends, with my business, even. Starting to teach yoga, I was like becoming codependent with my clients. And I was like, okay, we need to like get this healthy. And then I took a course on owning my value. And that was hosted by Lee Harris. He's an energy worker, and it was for people who are also energy workers. But it's not just for business, it's also for personal, like really owning your value. So those two things went really hand in hand for me. Um,
There'd be both come under the title of self-discovery.
right.
I would think, rather than personal development, I like self-discovery.
Yeah, I don't really like the title personal development either. It's more of like an inner unraveling. And
Yes,
it was perfect because everything stopped, right? And I didn't have anything to do. I had this time I could actually go in and ask the questions and do those changes without being distracted from everything.
good for you. That's like
Hmm.
that's important stuff.
It's like I feel like some of these things we should be taught when we're like just little, like
Yes,
it's
yeah,
it's like life 101.
yes. Yeah. You know, I'm have been in recovery in the 12-step world for many, many years, and because it never stops, the the self-examination or the self discovery is a part of that program always. So we're always open to, one, turning our will and our life over to a higher power, but two, looking at where am I stuck, where am I saying no to life, or no to love, or no to yes.
Hmm.
you know and
Hmm.
and codependence really is around control often, in the dictionary under control, I think there was a picture of me, and at different times in my life, in different relationships, it depended, right?
Right.
And so it's gone both ways. I've been in relationships with people who were extremely controlling, and I
Hmm.
kind of allowed that to happen sometimes. And
Hmm.
I've been on both sides of that. I'll bet you have too.
Yeah, and it was curious when I first started learning about codependency this summer. I didn't really like know what it meant really.
Yes.
And one of the therapists who I was working with said that, codependency is actually a covert way of manipulating or controlling a situation
Yeah.
as opposed to an overt way. And usually it's out of fear and love and like you have good intentions, but
Yeah.
it comes off wrong.
Well, yeah, it can come off manipulative, sticky,
Yeah.
uh, needy, all
Passive
of the,
aggressive. Yeah, all
yes,
that stuff. Yeah.
I know. So you learn some new language, right?
Yeah.
Good for you. Good
Yeah.
for you. I was talking yesterday or the day before to Amy Thiessen,
Nice.
and Amy's also been going deep into some work around letting go, trauma work, and in the body and where trauma holds itself. And you're both good examples of making good use of this time.
Mhm.
You know, good for you.
Mhm.
So what else came out of that?
I mean, while I was doing that work, the therapist suggested like just be with you, like don't even talk to anyone about it. But then after the 2 months, I started opening up to people and talking about it. So with my parents, with my previous partners, sometimes I made amends. So I said sorry for being like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize." And sometimes too, I asked for someone else's apology to be like, "This really upset me and I never said that before. I just want to let you know how I feel," and to develop more intimacy by actually being clear.
Yes.
Um, so it
Yeah.
really changed the way I relate with people and
Nice.
myself, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we do the amends part in the 12-step world as well. You
Hmm.
know, where we look where we've been selfish or dishonest or fearful, and or all three of those in relating, and do our best to make an amend or clean up the past, and sometimes even people that we owe amends to are no longer alive. So we write
Mhm.
letters, or we pray about it, if you will, and to let it go. So we're not carrying that, because a lot of times that stuff help breeds shame. You
Yes.
know,
Mm.
there's I've been listening to and Brene Brown. Do you know Brene? And
Oh, yes. She was one of the key people who influenced me. Her TED Talk back in like 2010 or whatever.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Her TED Talk was on shame, right? And
Yes.
and so, but I've gone way down the rabbit hole with her this last little while, the last couple of
Nice.
months, and listened to lots of her YouTube, bought two of her books, and because um, it's great. One of the things that happens with her is we get a language, and to be able to see ourselves. And sometimes we can see things, but we don't have the we don't have the words. And I had gone through most of my life never thinking that or really not really understanding shame,
Mm-hmm.
and that that the dialogue, the inner dialogue that I had around me that was shame based was, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good looking enough, I'm not whatever. I had, I'm mostly, I'm not smart enough or good enough, was it.
Mm-hmm.
And those are shame statements, and,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not good at relationships. you
Right.
know
Yeah.
and those are, as opposed to guilt statements, which are, I made a mistake, or I did something, which isn't, it doesn't make me that person. It just means that I did something that was, I was dishonest, or I was, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And shame says I am dishonest. Guilt says I was dishonest. I did something that was, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the good distinction.
Mm-hmm. Totally. There's
Yes.
there's one practice in Tantra that's really great. It's to understand the emotion and then to say that I am more than just that emotion, or I'm more than just that thought, or I'm more than just that one feeling.
Yes.
Like, yes, I did something that I'm upset about, and also I'm all these other things. So that
Yeah.
helps too.
Yeah. So have you been teaching it, are you planning to do teaching around Tantra, around, I mean, that's such a huge subject. Lots of folks don't have any idea how big that is,
Yeah, it's
you
so
know?
it's so vast and never ending.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, my yoga practice, I actually teach a tantric sort of yoga where it's very esoteric and energy based, as opposed to super physical. I mean, obviously, I'm teaching physical processes, but I'm tapping more into the energy. And so I talk a little bit about tantra and some of the work that we do physically that way.
Yes.
Um, I do still work one on one with clients in Tantra, and every once in a while I'll have a workshop, but I haven't been focusing too much on teaching it um,
Hmm.
on a wider scale yet.
Okay.
Hmm.
So golden, I mean, why golden?
Well, one, it's amazing the mountains here. Like every direction you look, it's almost like I'm living in a little womb because there's mountains in every direction. It's just like it's
Yes.
magic.
Yes.
And especially with lockdowns, I like to go outside every day, and I'd rather go outside, in the forest, in the mountains, by the river, instead of a concrete surrounding.
Yes, I mean, I love Golden. And it's got a
Mhm.
couple of cute little coffee shops, and it's I think it's a pretty little town,
Yes, it's
and
such a small town.
it's very small, and
Yeah.
and but the weather there is, it actually warms up there. It's usually warmer there than here.
Yeah, it's definitely that's what I found. It's much more mild here than Calgary. It's more temperate. Like it's around 0, maybe goes down to -10, but it never really gets colder than that.
No, I know. Yeah, I've driven the road many, many times, and I know, once you get to Golden, once I get to Golden, it's
Yeah.
the weather's going to change, and whether it's on the motorcycle or however I'm traveling, Golden is the turning point. Things change there, and then they
Nice.
change again at Sycamores,
Okay.
or the other side of Revelstoke. It starts to warm up really seriously,
Yeah, yeah.
heading heading west. So, uh, not many travel plans this year, are there?
Gosh, no. I mean, last year, actually, before COVID hit, I was planning on going to Australia. My brother and his wife just had a child, but obviously that didn't happen. And now Australia is one of the most locked down countries. So,
No,
no, no.
you can hardly get in there.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what we're seeing now. It's even getting more so that way here. You know,
Hmm.
like I was thinking a couple of weeks ago, a friend invited me to come and visit in Maui. And
Wow.
yes, he said, come on, he's a buddy of mine. He's got a big house. And he said, you know, come and stay with me. And you know, oh, I was like, yes, yes. And I was just in the kind of the planning stages. And now there's you have to jump through a lot of hoops coming back,
Mm,
you know, and anyway, I'm gonna wait,
that's fair. Yeah.
you know, and what can I say? Although I am going to the coast. I thought I was going to go today, but it turns out now I'm going Saturday. And I have a brother in Campbell River who's older than I am, and has to go in for a little surgery next week, and I'm going to go and
Hmm.
kind of look after him a bit and you know, take him to the hospital and bring him home. And
Hmm. Oh, that's great. Yeah,
yes,
the island is so nice. It's a good time of year to go and kind of get a break from our winter.
yes, yeah. I've another buddy. I've lots of friends in the island, but um, McLeod, uh, Jason. I don't even know Jason McLeod, J Cloud. Anyway, um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he moved out there a few years ago to Duncan, so I'm going to go see Jay and go for a walk. And we've been friends for a long time. So, and I have friends in Victoria, so I may make my Vancouver Island a bit of a tour and
Great.
get around and see some people. And you know, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Nice.
Yes. So,
Hmm.
so what else? Tell us, you know, any big revelations this year? I mean, you talked about, you know, the whole idea of codependency and 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 what your discoveries there, and
Hmm.
was, you know, I mean, usually we don't start doing that work unless we've had some pain, you know, and pain's usually the motivator on that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, so last winter I was actually dating someone who lived in Golden,
Yes.
and we were doing great, and then all of a sudden we weren't doing great, and we had a whole month where we were just fighting, and it ended really like poorly in my opinion. I was hurt, he was hurt. And then that sort of reminded me of like, oh, this really is mirroring a lot of what I felt with my father growing up. And I still have a lot of unresolved stuff around that. And I was like, okay, I need to focus there. So I started seeing a therapist, or I saw her online actually. This was before COVID, but still. And I started doing that work with my father, which was really important to unravel and actually speak my truth and speak what was going on for me, and try to make changes from the root.
Yes.
and and so yeah, that was really helpful. It's an ongoing journey though, that one, and relationships take time. But once I did the codependency work and really really dove in with it myself, I did reconnect with my ex from Golden. So now we're seeing each other again, but in a healthier way. So it's,
Good for you. That's
yeah.
like that's powerful. You know how many people go through life and say, you know, relationships don't work for me. That's it. Or I'm done with men,
Hmm.
or I'm done with women. You know,
Hmm.
rather than looking at ourselves.
Hmm.
Um, and so just to get past that, to say,
Hmm.
well, okay, what's my piece? You know.
And I mean, I still have so many layers. Like I had the sort of passive aggressive, quiet, didn't say what I needed, and then that would always blow up later, and then whoever it was would get upset because they're like, "Well, I didn't know about this," and I'm like, "But I felt it the whole time." Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Couldn't you read my mind?
yeah, exactly. Um, so I'm still coming up with those barriers. Like I'm not just 100% better now. Like I'm still struggling with speaking, but he's really good at helping me and being patient with me to like work through those edges and be uncomfortable.
Well, good for you, and obviously somebody that you trust to be able to do
Hmm.
that with, and
Hmm.
we move into a new way of being, and,
Hmm.
beautiful. Was there any book that was part of that work that you recommend?
Um, no, I didn't read a book. I did a course with Mark Groves and Terry Cole, and I know Mark Groves has a book, but I don't think it's about codependency.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not sure about Terry, but Terry's great. She's a psychologist in the States somewhere. Um, yeah, no, I didn't read anything on it actually.
Okay.
Mm.
But did you do some journaling?
Oh yes, I did a ton of journaling, a ton of introspection, a ton of meditating.
Nice.
Hmm.
Um, do you know who's been great for me this year is Muji.
Nice.
Yes. Just like I have, you know what? Over the years, I've read a lot of Dr. David Hawkins. You know Hawkins?
Hmm.
And Hawkins has this scale, this beautiful consciousness scale, and like the Bhagavad Gita vibrates, really, really high. It's on his
Hmm.
scale. The top of the scale is 1,000, which he calls Christ consciousness, and and down low on the scale would be guilt and shame and fear and anger and desire and pride, and all of those things are quite low, and then moving up the scale, like unconditional love is around 540 to 600, and beyond that is kind of an awakened state, and I think Muji is this awakened guy, and so listening to him, and I have listened to him for hours, is I think it has the potential to really lift our vibration, and
Hmm.
and and show in ways that, well, we can't even imagine how we change. I mean, I've always prayed to be more compassionate and understanding with people, just to be a better listener, and not, because sometimes I find myself wanting to fix people.
Hmm.
Imagine, and you
Very codependent.
and and now it seems much easier just to be listening, just to be
Hmm.
there and listening. I made up this little thing: listening is loving. It is.
Nice.
They can be very much the same, and so Muji's been really, I think, uplifting this year for me. Um, Sometimes an hour, sometimes 3 hours a day, and not that I'm just sitting listening to Muji, but he's on.
Yeah.
He's on when I'm getting ready in the morning, and he's on sometimes. I even am in my meditation, and he's still kind of playing over there,
Yeah.
and he has endless YouTubes, just endless.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
I've
Uh,
been listening to a lot of Sadhguru this year.
do you like him, eh?
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of his thoughts are very similar to what I've been taught and what I feel. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I find I haven't connected with him, but I didn't connect originally with Muji either. So,
Right.
so I'll say I haven't connected with Sadhguru yet, you
Yeah,
know.
it's everything comes at the right time when you need it. Like Muji is wonderful. I've only listened to a bit of him this year.
Yeah,
Um, but I've also been reading a lot of Yogananda's book, Autobiography of a Yogi.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
A very high vibration book,
Oh, it's great. It's like, yeah.
It's off the charts. I mean, you could sleep with that book. Do you know what I mean? Because it just the vibration is
Yeah.
in the words. It doesn't. And I have, like, speaking of that, when I look at my little library in my room here,
Hmm.
um, I only have I've taken out the books that I don't. I've spent a few minutes with each one to see which one, really grabbed me as being more high vibration. So,
Mm.
and those books that weren't, I moved out of my room.
Nice.
Yes, and just to not have that energy here, and that might not be. I'd like to have books that are kind of over 600, in
Yeah.
the vibrational scale, and when you look at Hawkins vibration scale, and
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm. So I think they have a vibration whether we open them or not, and
Totally. Yeah.
yeah. Right
One of
on.
my teachers said this summer, even if you buy a course or you buy a book and you never read it, the title of the thing still affects you. It still, yeah, offers its vibration, whatever that vibration is. So that's really cool that you pared down to only the high stuff.
Well, yes, yeah. And so I put everything else in another bookshelf downstairs,
Mm,
and yes. And the other thing is I loan books and they don't come back sometimes.
right. Yeah.
They disappear, right? And, so how are you doing? Like, are you able to make a living?
Well, that's a good question. I actually just created a crowdfunder through ATB Financial. They have a booster campaign for female entrepreneurs. They call it Build Her Business, and it just happens every year. I think around February. Um, so I joined it to ask for funds for my yoga studio and to create more awareness about it, so I can reach more people. It's been sustaining me so far, but I just this month hired other yoga teachers to join me. So now that I have, more expenses, salaries and insurance and such like that, um, I do require a little bit more
Do you have to have
income.
it if you're doing an online yoga teaching? Do you have to have insurance?
I mean, like it's kind of like I'm not an insurance buff, and you
Mhm.
could buy insurance for everything, or you don't have to buy insurance for everything. But
Yes.
in terms of being ethical, I think it's still nice to have.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. Of course. I never considered that. But yeah. But I'm more of a fly by the seat of your pants guy, and so
yeah,
I just hadn't thought of that. Nice that you've done that, and good for you. So is some money going to come from that? You think from ATB?
totally. Yeah, I'm only in the first week, and I've already raised well half of my goal for the first week, and we're only halfway through the first week, so I'm right on point.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah, and now that I used to just host my yoga through Zoom, and I'd get everyone to register through Zoom, and maybe I'd update my website. It was kind of like willy-nilly, kind of like you, fly by the seat of my pants. I'm like, we're doing this now. But I've created a whole platform. There's some really great booking softwares now, and so I put my whole yoga studio on there, and so now it's a little more formal and official, and people I don't even know are joining, which is super. And that's kind of what I want. I want to spread this
Yes.
beyond my limited network.
What's the platform called?
It's the platform is Bookwen.
Okay.
Yeah,
Book one.
so Bookwen.
Okay. Book when. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
it's kind of similar to the Mind Body Online platform, but it's a little different in functionality. And Mind
So-
Body Online is what most yoga studios use.
And book when allows them to pay you as well
Yep.
through their platform. And
Through PayPal or Stripe or however you have it set up.
oh, I see. Okay.
Yep.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
And you're doing 2 classes a day?
Uh, I'm currently only doing one class a day, me personally,
Yeah.
but I have other teachers who will offer evening classes as well. So,
No, nice. That's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, I'm doing like a talk every day. I do a video every single day, and
Wow.
and and um, and I'm reading actually from a little book that I have, the 24-hour day book, and I give a little talk, and I read from the book, and then I lead a short meditation. Usually, I don't even call it meditation anymore because I think sometimes people have such ideas about meditation. A lot of folks that I'm working with have just said, look, I don't know how to meditate. I'm not going to, they're
Right.
so I don't call it that. I call it sitting.
Nice.
Yes, and everybody knows how to sit.
Yeah.
And
Well, I have these, there's Zen quotes. There's like a list of 11 or 13, and one of them is just make time for sitting.
yeah,
It's not meditating, it's not focusing, it's just sitting.
yes, and then
Simple.
and when we're sitting, I ask them to focus on the breath because everybody can focus on their breath. And
Hmm.
sometimes at the end, I say, oh, by the way, we just meditated. I mean, and because when we drop in, I ask them to watch their thoughts. to
Yeah.
just have a look, and there they are going by, and even maybe to recognize that you're not your thoughts, and that they're just kind of doing what they want on their own, and we don't have to attach to them, and we don't attach to them, they'll just move on,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's really is meditating,
Yeah.
but I just call it sitting. Let's just sit for 5 minutes, and
Uh-huh.
so I do that every day. And what's come up is that I'd like to continue it. I have a following, and people are, and I'm looking at Patreon uh,
Mm-hmm.
as a way to have, because I've said online, if I was, gonna build a network of, would you guys, chip in, $10 a month to,
Yeah.
and I've gotten people say, yes, yeah, sure, we would. You're my daily thing. I come here every day to,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. So I think that's kind of up for me to do a Patreon. How have you found that app?
Great. Yeah, I joined Patreon, oh gosh, 2 or 3 years ago now. And I joined it for my fine art work, my modeling work. And it was something I had avoided for a long time. But once I joined, it was just this steady monthly income, and people come and go. And, I really like that aspect that people can come and go as they please. Like they're not locked in, they can enjoy the content that you're sharing or not. And the other thing about the platform is that I've changed my content over time. So sometimes after this, sometimes after that. Like right now, I have my lunar circles, my witch circles. We gather every full moon and new moon, so I have a tier just for that now, aside from my fine art and so much more. Like you can just grow with it, and it's been great. Yeah.
Has it? Has
Mm-hmm.
it? I uh, was on a channel the other day, a yoga channel, and a couple, and they had 1,500 subscribers on Patreon,
Wow.
and their bottom thing was like 750,
Yeah.
and their top one was like $25. So, I'm thinking, well, 1,500 people. Let's say they're all at $10 average. That's $15,000 a month.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
like, you know, they must be, they must have quite a bit of value that they're producing.
Totally.
But anyway, so Patreon is I think really where I'm going to go with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known you've had a channel for a long time, and I've always been inspired by your um, ability to talk about your channel, and your ability to put it out there, and
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad that it's worked for you.
Yeah. Well, like anything, especially like a business or online, it's just consistency. Like telling people about it, reminding them about it, saying you have it. And then people, like there's psychology about this, but people will see it, they might not join right away, but eventually they'll be like, oh yeah, this person has that thing and I want it right now, or you know
Yes. Yeah.
hmm
So it is important to talk about it, and share. Are you going to do a YouTube channel?
I have a YouTube channel, and I've had it for years. I started it out just to put on my dance videos when I
Yes.
needed to do submissions or auditions online. And now it has a bunch of, like, over the years, it has a bunch of random videos of me dancing or performing aerial. And then I put a few meditations on there, and I did this whole series where once a week I would say whatever's going on in my life. And now I do a monthly sort of energy update. I share some yoga stuff. I still have dance and yoga videos, but just recently I blew up from like 200 followers to 800. One of my videos went viral. It's got like 100,000 followers, and it's just me in a bodysuit doing yoga. It's so funny. But I do plan on putting more of my yoga content on there, more of my meditations, more of my healing work, so that people can access it whether they come to my classes or not.
Yes. I think that's really great to do that.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you can also do a join after you get to a certain level of hours, and so it's 4,000 hours in the last 365 days, and over 1,000 subscribers. There's other things you can join with YouTube. You could have like almost like a Patreon type of a thing in YouTube.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so you can put some videos behind a wall if you want,
Uh-huh.
or have your kind of like Patreon people, I forget what they call it, um, see your videos first and that kind of thing.
Right.
But I think if you did uh, yoga in whatever you wore uh, once a week, um, it would, you would be, you'd make money on YouTube.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's so many channels and so many things to focus on. It's hard to know which one to pick, but YouTube is
Yes.
definitely coming up more and more as people go there and interact there and in a different way than like Facebook and Instagram, but that content's also available, searchable consistently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm interested in it.
Yeah. Well, I think me too. It's kind of my focus on as
Mhm.
far as social media is concerned. Even though my video every day, I do it live on Facebook.
Yeah.
Then I download it like this one, like we're going to download and upload it to YouTube and
Yeah.
write some content and and then post it. And I think this year I'll break the 4,000 hours. I've about 1,800 followers or subscribers,
Oh, wow.
and so it's coming, and it's kind of fun too. Like it's a challenge. It's like, okay, let's see if this wants to
Right.
happen. And
Oh,
and
that's so exciting.
yes, and I can do uh, yoga in a bodysuit, but it won't be the same.
I think it would still attract a large audience.
No, not at all. Not at all. I just got a visual on that. It's like, no, it's not gonna. It's not. But sometimes I do these outdoors. I do them, to kind of make them a little more interesting. Other than
Totally.
I have a little studio. I have a great bedroom. We're in my room, and I have a couch, and it's a big enough room that
Yeah.
that it's quite, the beautiful bathroom, and it's well set up, and
Nice.
so I do a lot of my work right here, and
Yeah.
it's a new world. I'm never going back to a job. This is it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and my message that I do every day is really an awake. I call it Project Awakening, and it's about, you know, about self-realization, about who are we in relation to, I don't even want to call it spirituality. Who are we in relation to the one, to the isness, to God, to,
Mm-hmm.
and my experience is that we are that,
Mm-hmm.
and that, you know, ego mind has convinced us that we're not, and we can drop past that to this open space, this oneness, this that's beyond intellect, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's over and over again kind of my message, and often people aren't willing to really look at that unless things are falling apart, you know unless there's
Mm-hmm.
a struggle, unless there's whether it's addiction or the broken relationship, or somebody died, and then we become aware of, like, oh my gosh, I have no
Mm-hmm.
control here.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know, and but we've lived with the illusion that we could kind of manage life.
Yeah. It's it's kind of like the Rumi quote or poem, like it's the crack that lets the light in,
Yes,
you know?
Leonard Cohen.
Oh, whoever said it.
Well, he didn't know, but it was probably Rumi. But he said, the crack is how the light gets in. In
Mm,
one of his songs too, and he was quite a philosopher and a spiritual guy, and
totally. Yeah.
yeah, I'm a big Leonard Cohen fan. But yes, it is how the light gets in, and then
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh, we're living in the light, free.
Yeah. And you can never go back.
No. So freedom is the key, is the goal, really. And freedom is, I mean, the jail that we live in is the one in our mind, right? Is the,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's my kind of purpose, is I'm a freedom fighter,
Nice. I like that.
jailbreaker. And
Yeah.
and to help folks get out of that thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so you think you'll stay in Golden for a while?
I mean, it's really hard to say what's going to happen in the world. I can't believe we're coming up to like the year anniversary of the pandemic. Um, I I'll stay here for 6 months at least, which is a
Okay.
long time for me because I travel a lot. And then we'll see what happens after that, see where the
Yeah.
world's at, see what I'm doing.
All right.
Hmm.
Not on my way out, but maybe on my way back. Depending on what time of day it is, maybe I'll stop and have a coffee with you if you'd like. And
Cool.
you know, are you close to downtown?
Yes.
Great. I mean, I downtown's like 4 streets, but
Yes. Yeah. I am like 4 blocks away.
good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I love that little town. Well, thank you for for taking time to tell us what you're doing. Can you do a couple of things for me? I don't even know if you have a bio, but if you have one, I'd like you to send it to me, and I'm going to put it on the content
Okay.
and maybe your links as well for everything, even
For
your YouTube
sure.
channel, and we'll post it all on there, and so people can know how to find you and
Great.
how to be in your yoga classes and
Yes.
you know, and maybe if you've got some of your yoga on YouTube, they can go and see it there, and then because uh,
Totally.
to catch up a bit, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and so I'd love that if you could send me all that stuff, like even tonight,
Sure.
and
Yep.
and I'll put this all together and send you the link on this YouTube tomorrow. And
Great.
yeah, it's just really nice to see you. You seem quite light,
Mhm.
you
You
know.
know, I because I started doing yoga in May and then I did it every single day. I saw my acupuncturist in about October, November, and she said that my energy, my meridians, my channels were all the most open she's ever seen them. So my
Nice,
yoga has like specific science behind it and it has cleared my whole energy field. So it
nice.
it does the same for those who join.
Nice. Well,
Mhm.
what I sense is that you feel quite complete in a way,
Mhm.
like nothing's missing, or
Mhm.
and sometimes, especially on relationship, if we can be in, if we're out of a relationship, sometimes we're thinking, oh my gosh, something's missing, or if we're with somebody and it's not working out the way we thought, that something's missing, and that's, of course, goes back to the codependent thing, but um,
Totally.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't sense that with you at all. I think that you just like seem quite relaxed.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that we're all whole by ourselves, and then relationships and partnerships and family just help enhance us.
Yes,
They don't complete us. We're already complete. They just help us.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if you've always believed that, have you?
I probably haven't always, no.
No, and most of us didn't. And
Mhm.
also I spent lots of my life thinking I had to be with somebody to,
Mhm.
I was missing something if I wasn't, and it's beautiful now, also in my life right now to be. I can't actually. I don't know where I would put somebody in a way. Not that I need to put them anywhere, but I'm quite. My life is really full,
Right.
and so I've kind of turned the whole thing over, to my higher power, to God as I understand him or don't, you know, and to if that's meant to be, then you know, I'm sure it'll show up when as appropriate,
Oh,
and
that's great. Yeah.
isn't it? It is. It's quite freeing,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Well, you're a freedom fighter, so you should be free.
that's right. Thank
Mm.
you for that. Okay, I love you
Mhm.
lots. Nice to spend time with you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I'll send this to you in a bit.
Great.
Bye-bye. Okay.